Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'd like to discuss some Mega Greninja decks that are coming around in the set Chaos Rising. So, Mega Greninja X has 350 HP, Stage 2 Water type, weakness to Lightning, which is pretty good right now because there's honestly not that many Lightning type attackers. I'm pretty sure everyone's just a bit scared of things like Mega Lucario, so that and Okidogi and whatnot. So, yeah, fair enough, not really much Lightning weakness going around, and it has the very powerful ability Mortal Shuriken. Once your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may discard a basic Water Energy card from your hand and place 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then for 2 Water Energy, Ninja Spinner does 120 damage, and you may return a Water Energy from Mega Greninja to your hand, and you do 80 more damage. So effectively, you can do a 260 damage combo, which is 20 damage painfully short of like an End Zoroark, which is a bit unfortunate, and the other key 280 HP Pokemon, I guess. But to be honest, a lot of the meta is just 300 plus HP. So mainly the cool appeal of Greninja is you're just trying to KO small evolved Pokemon before they can actually become much bigger. So that's kind of like what you're trying to do with Mortal Shuriken at least. These decks do also feature some new cards, however. Got the new special red card, which says it can only be played if your opponent has 3 or less prize cards remaining, and your opponent shovels their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck, and they draw 3 cards. A very, very, very good card. It'll be good for dealing with things like Alakazam, but mainly it's just a fantastic disruption item and will probably be played as a one-off in pretty much every meta deck as soon as this set drops. So yeah, definitely get used to seeing special red card in deck lists. But yeah, AZ's Tranquility is also a nice option, just allowing you to switch your active Pokemon EX with one of your bench Pokemon and healing 80 damage. You can also use this to switch a normal Pokemon, but you won't get the heal 80 buff. So, something worth bearing in mind, but could be quite nice to heal Mega Greninja and potentially use another Mortal Shuriken. But yeah, the first up list is we've got a very simple, straightforward build. Really nothing too crazy going on here in terms of partners. Just 2 Munkidori to exploit the damage counter spread. Also got Neo Upper Energy as the choice of ace spec, which is a very nice choice because Neo Upper Energy can provide the double attack cost, but can also act as the water energy that you return to hand effectively. So you can always swing for 200, if that makes sense. Like you can always get the 200 off, which is cool. So Neo Upper Energy also, conserves itself, so you're not discarding it with any effects. So that's nice. Also got the Terra type Greninja EX, which is able to do 170 damage for a single water energy, and you can search your deck for any one card. Quite useful because you can use this to one-shot a Kangaskhan, which is cool. And then for a water and a double colorless, Shuriken Barrage, I think the name is the attack is. You discard 2 energy from that Pokemon, and you do 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So quite a useful spread attacker, and honestly, Greninja EX as a Terra type has honestly seemed really strong post-rotation, just like by itself. So there is a world where if Mega Greninja doesn't really work out in the format, then Terra type Greninja is still really nice. But of course, we do want to try and use the new stuff and try out the new Megas. But yeah, still something worth bearing in mind. But yeah, otherwise, a very straightforward build. Room for things like Wally's Compassion, even though you're a stage 2 deck, because we do want to be able to run some useful tech cards. Like this deck has plenty of options. It's got things like Surfing Beach as well to give your water Pokemon free retreat, which is nice. So if you start with Psyduck as well, you can move them out the way, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, nothing too crazy about this list. I do really like the use of Hilda though, just because it means if you already have a rare candy, then you're able to find a Greninja and a Water Energy, so that's nice. Or just use Hilda to find Neo Upper Energy. So I do like the use of Hilda. Also, Power Hourglass is quite cool to see because you will be discarding energy with both of your abilities and your attacks as well on the Terra Greninja. So that is also really nice to see. But yeah, pretty straightforward and consistent build, I would say. Next up is we have a very similar consistent build, but this time utilizing the Solrock Lunatone draw engine. Again, very similar kind of energy counts. This one's using Brock's Scouting now to find Pokemon, not just Hilda. Also a bit lighter in terms of supporters, but it's also got a few more energy cards, including the Ignition Energy, which is mainly here for Terra Greninja. So you just put a Water Energy on Terra Greninja, then an Ignition, and then you can discard the Ignition and do the 120 spread to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, which is quite nice. So yeah, very nice effect overall, I would say. You do have to be careful about your opponent blocking that damage, of course, with things like Shaman. But I would say overall a very solid list. I do like the Solrock Lunatone draw engine. It's very powerful. It is, however, very much reliant on you having both of them out in play, which can be a bit annoying for bench space when you're trying to use things like Fez, Meowth, maybe even a Latias. so that could get a bit frustrating. Note that this deck also runs 2 switches, so just in case your Greninja wants to switch around a bit, then you can utilize that effect. And it also does mean that you can't really get retreat locked as easy, which is quite nice. Yeah, other than that, a very consistent list: 4 Pokepad, 4 Gong, 3 Ultra Ball, 3 Rare Candy. So very high counts of your Pokemon search, and it's just trying to get up and rolling as fast as possible. So I'd say this is a very solid list. The split of water and fighting energy does kind of scare me a little bit, just because Greninja fundamentally needs 2 water energy to attack anyway. So you do have to find those 6 water energy. But aside from that, I would say this is a very solid deck, and you can also use Crispin as well to take advantage of that, which is cool. But yeah, next up is we have a Dragapult Budew variant, which I'm sure is everyone's favorite. Yeah, I personally don't really see the appeal in pairing this up with Dragapult, but unfortunately, it does make sense. Like, they both utilize New Upper Energy. They both utilize spread damage. Dragapult, of course, placing 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon and then on the bench. And then not Terra Greninja, sorry. Then Mega Greninja can do the whole Mortal Shuriken. So yeah, there is fairly obvious synergy. You do also get a built-in draw engine in the form of Dracoloak. You still have Poffin to find your Froakies and Dreepies. So they do mirror each other actually in a lot of ways, which is a little bit sad, I guess, if you're not really a major fan of Dragapult and Budew especially right now. But yeah, it's undeniably a very strong combo. I think a lot of players in Japan are like gravitating more towards this build and more towards like just more like straight Dragapult as well, which is a bit sad, but still a very cool build option if you're already familiar with Dragapult and you want to spice up your deck a bit, or try something a bit different. So yeah, very cool, nice to see. Next up is we have another Dragapult variant. This one's slightly different because it is also running a 1/1 Fraligator line. Now, Fraligator is quite fun because it's essentially just a single prize attacker. Something I didn't mention in the previous list was that Dragapult also gives you an option to attack into things like Cornerstone Ogerpon, which you wouldn't have been able to do with the normal Greninja EX. So, well, you can actually with normal Greninja, but you can't do it with Mega Greninja. So that's kind of frustrating sometimes. It is also worth mentioning this list is not running the Tirtouga Greninja, which you could probably run, to be honest, if you wanted to. 4 different stage 2s, actually. That would be kind of fun. Yeah, 4 different stage 2s. Yeah, very spicy. But yeah, Fraligator is like a fun little 1/1 line. You only play 3 rare candy, so like it's not super great. Like, I suppose if Neo Upper Energy wasn't so important, you could use Grand Tree and then play a single Croconaw, but probably not worth it at that point. Like, I guess like Grand Tree could be fun here, but yeah, Neo Upper Energy is just such a strong card that it's probably not worth it. So yeah, 3 Hilda again to find your special energy. But yeah, Fraligator can do 160 damage for 2 energy, by the way, in case you didn't know. And then you can also place 5 damage counters on him. So 50 damage, 50 self-inflicted damage with his ability. And then that lets you do an extra 120 damage this turn. So you can actually do 280 for 2 water, which is quite impressive for a single prize Pokemon. So if you know your opponent is running low on boss or they've discarded them already, then you could send up Fraligator, swing into something big, and then if they have to finish you off, they can't boss around it, then you could maybe set up another care with Mortal Shuriken or something, or finish them off if they're a Mega. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Seems like a very fun list idea to try out. And if I was going to do this list and I had to play it with Dragapult, I would definitely want to try it with Fraligator at least, because Fraligator is really cool. And next up is we have a Dusknoir Frostlass build. So kind of similar to the vein of like Starmie Dusknoir, I guess, but no Starmie in this list. There is a list with Starmie, by the way. But yeah, this one's focusing just on Dusknoir to, of course, use that Curse Blast. We do have to be careful, of course, because Psyduck is a thing, so you will have to like boss his orders of Psyduck. Not everyone runs Psyduck, so that's something worth bearing in mind. And if they don't have Shaman, you can also like blow up their Psyduck using a Terra Greninja attack, so that is also an option. This list is interesting enough playing Grand Tree because you do want to get to Dusknoir as quickly as possible. And you've also got things like 3 Ignition as well. 2 Meowth seems a bit excessive, not going to lie, but maybe it is necessary towards later on in the game. It just seems like such a liability to want to have 2 of them in play, potentially. But I guess it's really important. So if you prize 1, then that kind of sucks. But yeah, still a very, very good card. I suppose being able to like Meow for Colrus and then Colrus for Grand Tree and then get all your stage 2s up and running is probably a good idea. And you can also find Ignition Energy with it. So I'm assuming that's why there's 2 Meowth in this list, right? Surely that's why. But yeah, also 1/1 Frostlass. I'm not sure why Frostlass is in the deck. And like, can someone let me know in the comments? Like, why is why is Mega Frostlass in this build, right? I don't think we need Mega Frostlass. It's a bit greedy. Like, you could probably swap these out for, like, I don't know, another Pokepad, maybe? Another Hilda, something else like that. Like, I don't think you need a 1-1 Frostlass. It's a bit greedy. Like, honestly, you could even play the regular Frostlass instead, like just an extra damage counter ping on abilities. That could be quite nice. But yeah, so I don't think you need Frostlass in this deck. You know, if you're building this IRL or a new player, then I don't think you need Frostlass. But you know, like maybe it's a fun one KO move, like sure, once in a blue moon, but I don't think you need it. It seems a bit excessive, but you know, still kind of cool. Although I guess actually you can use Absolute Snow for a water and an ignition, so that's kind of cool. So you can do like 160 damage, put them to sleep, maybe set up a KO with Dust Snore that way. That could be kind of fun actually. Yeah, I'd be up for giving this one a go. I just yeah, I'm just not sure about the Mega Frostlass. It just seems a bit greedy. Right, next up is we're going back to the more consistent builds. There's really nothing too crazy going on here, except the 1-1 line of Tirtouga, which I must admit is the only reason why this list featured. Also, if you do like to Dunsparce them, that's fun. You know, I like to Dunsparce. I think it's a really fun draw engine. Yeah, Tirtouga is really fun. If you don't know what Tirtouga does, you've already forgotten. For a single Water Energy, it does 30 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. So very simply, it's a late game single prize attacker, could one-shot a Cornerstone, for example, in the late game, but typically it's just there for like much later on to kind of mess with the prize trade. So if you like special red card them down really low, then your opponent has to now suddenly find a boss off like a 3 or 4 card size hand if you factor in their draw for turn. So that could be very annoying, you know, like just get a Tirtouga in there and start two-shotting Megas later on in the game. But yeah, Tirtouga is honestly kind of powerful. It's a bit of a shame because we lost Arven to rotation, so there's no easy way of finding Antique Fossil. Like, you kind of just have to walk into it. And none of you're not running like petrol or anything to find it. So you do just have to like spam the Dunsparce until you do bump into it if you're going to run it. But yeah, definitely a very fun option for the late game. Probably not as strong as Dragon Ball, of course, but you know, a bit more entertaining and certainly a bit cheaper as well if you're newer to the game. So yeah, seems like a very fun, straightforward list overall. Next up is we do have a Mega Starmie list, and I do want to apologize. This list is quite blurry on the screen right now. It's just because I couldn't find a better Starmie list that was actually in good quality. But yeah, very fun list. Only playing one of the Mega Greninja actually, and playing 3 of the Terra. So more of a Starmie build and more of like a Terra Greninja build. But you can still use, of course, Mega Greninja's Mortal Shuriken if you needed to. But yeah, definitely focusing more on Terra Greninja's double barrage attack, and then also like using Starmie. So you're trying to set up KOs right. Like you can do 50 damage snipe to something, aka like a Meowth EX, for example, and then double barrage can come in there and do 120 to it. So you can like get a cheeky 2 prize KO that way. Maybe get a 3 prize turn by knocking out a single prize Pokemon as well. So yeah, a lot of fun options here. I think Mega Starmie was definitely everyone's like go-to choice when theorizing how to build Greninja. So, you know, if you're interested in doing this, then that would be it. Also got Rosa's Encouragement from Perfect Order. Kind of spicy, you know, I do find that kind of spicy, but then again, if your opponent is already in the lead, you know, they've taken a prize on your Buddy or a Staryu, for example, or you've lost a Froakie, then being able to use Rosa's Encouragement and immediately get some energy back from the disco pile from Ultra Balls and stuff, it's actually quite nice. So I do really like Rosa in here. I've not really been talking about the supporters that much this video, but definitely some spicy supporters across the board. And yeah, Rosa's really fun. So yeah, also play Monkey Dory. I think Monkey Dory's greedy, to be honest. Like, yeah, it's got good synergy with Starmie, but like, I don't know. Like, where's the bench space for these decks, guys? Like, where's the bench space? We've got like Greninja, Starmie, Fez, probably a Meowth at some point. Like, is there really bench space for a single Monkey Dory? I don't know. Like, maybe that's why there's only one copy, because there isn't a lot of bench space. But I don't know. I'd rather just have like more rare candies and stuff, and just and just use Greninja and like do fun attacks and not just Monkey Dory spam. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me though. That's just me. Right, next up is, lastly, we actually have a Greninja Dragonite list. Very fun. I know Dragonite's not really been on everyone's radar. It's kind of like flopped a bit in the TCG, but still a really fun ability, allowing you to just free retreat whenever you want, basically. So you could just pivot for days, actually. You can just like, I know this deck is also playing an Air Balloon, but you can also just use Dragonite to pivot between your Greninjas. So even though you only play 2 Mega Greninjas, it's still probably the dream in this deck to actually set up 2 of them, so you can just like spam Mortal Shurikens back to back. And you're playing like energy retrieval as well, so it is possible. You'll notice that there's not really been any like Mortal Shuriken focused builds. Like, there's not been like 3 Greninja in one deck and then like 2 energy retrieval, 2 switches, 2 AZs, and stuff like that. But still, like a very fun strat, I think, if you could pull it off. I guess like Monkey Dory is just a bit more consistent these days with Crispin, but yeah, Dragonite's still kind of cool. Also, this deck is playing 2 Crispin and 3 Lightning, so you can actually attack with Dragonite and do 330 damage, I want to say it does, for a Water and 2 Lightning, which, yeah, very potent, although you will have to discard the energy, but yeah, it's a very strong card. It also has 370 HP and no weakness, so, yeah, it's very annoying and hard to deal with, but, yeah, just something worth bearing in mind if you want to use Dragonite to attack with, but yeah, seems like a fun list, probably not my cup of tea, but seems pretty cool either way. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about Mega Greninja down below. Do you think it's going to be a really good deck when it comes out? And yeah, thank you for watching.